Hello everyone, how are you going? And welcome to How to Survive Winter in Canada, something that I know that I need to expand my knowledge on, because if I truly was just, ever to go to Canada, let alone just put it in the middle of a Canadian winter, I would stand no chance. And so hopefully I can just learn just a trick or two just to keep them up my sleeve.
In this video we will explore how to get ready for winter in Canada.
Oh, look at that. Oh, cold. Warm.
If you live in the Vancouver area, or if you want to move to the Vancouver area, you can easily skip this video. If you are planning to move, or if you are already moved to the rest of Canada, Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia and so on, continue to watch. So winter in Canada could be pretty harsh, with some extreme below zero temperatures and winter storms.
Absolutely.
But it's also beautiful, and you can actually have fun during those snowy and cold days. I want to share with you some tips of how to survive the winter in Canada and even enjoy it.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to this, because if nothing else, that accent just definitely gives me an air of confidence around it. But I also just want to look at a few things that are going on. Like I said, just cold. But also, I think that is the first time I've truly seen a video or a person or anything of the sort just using, is it a snowblower? Is that what it's called? I mean, I can't imagine, or at least I certainly don't hope that they go and do the entire driveway just with that. I mean, I know it's sufficient, but come on, there's square meterage and then there's square kilometerage. However, in saying that, I'm sure that I'm showing my naivety around the entire situation, going, okay, it looks cold, but I have no idea besides just rugging up. How would you possibly actually, more than just survive, actually live in these kind of conditions? That is the thing that always gets me, you know. Sure, you can just bunker down and just, I guess, hope that the power doesn't go out or you have enough wood, but how do you actually get to work every day and do everything that people usually do in these kind of areas? And I guess that doesn't include Vancouver for whatever reason. I mean, I guess to be fair, if it isn't getting anywhere near as cold as some of the other places, then it probably doesn't make sense to be investing in things like the snowblower and like so many other things. And so maybe that is why you have to skip this video. But really, Canada can really just, from an international perspective, just get lumped in all at once. It's just going to be cold to a degree in winter.
Make sure to have a proper winter clothes.
Oh yeah.
There is no bad weather, there are bad clothes.
Okay.
You have to dress up
Yes.
accordingly, starting with a good winter coat. There are many good warm clothes brands in Canada, and some of them I can recommend from our experience.
Okay.
I can recommend looking for parkas from brands like Canada Goose, Nobis, Artrix, Parajumpers, Woolrich.
Yep. Okay.
There are more, but these ones that we had experience with, and they are great. A good winter parka could be expensive, but it will serve you well and long. So it's worth investing in.
Especially if you just want to have the possibility of surviving these things. I mean, he even showed the difference there, going, okay, I have my winter jacket. I mean, maybe not my snowstorm jacket because it looks very clear. There's hardly even snowing. It's sunny out, but still snowing around. And then of course just a hard cut straight to here, where I guess he's wearing a thinner Arc'teryx jacket, which, to be fair, it still certainly does look cold, and maybe that is going to be the difference. That is kind of the frosty jacket, where the other one is just the frozen jacket. But hey, listening to him just rattle off a whole bundle of different brands and also just recognizing a few of them, let's just take Canada Goose and also, like I said, Arc'teryx. Both of them I know are fairly renowned for what they can do, just being from Nordic and also just Canadian, two countries that know how to deal with the cold. But otherwise, I just need to be listening to this again and again and again just to try and get it into my brain. Or I guess I could take notes as well, but just trying to remember what brands I can hopefully trust and what brands to just completely get rid of my radar. And hey, I do quickly want to mention the fact that the Tesla can even measure down to -25 now makes me wonder how low can it go, because I reckon my car wouldn't be able to go that low. I reckon it might hit -5, -10 and just go cold, man, just cold, stop driving. But no, -25 and it's still cruising. I mean, I guess to be fair, that does now make me wonder what temperature is it inside the car, because he was certainly just wearing a pretty big jacket inside the car, his outside jacket inside the car. And so I guess there's, like you said, not bad weather, there is bad clothes and unpreparedness, but man, just use the heater if you need to, even if it does take a bit of that range, that 323 kilometer range at -25. Now that's impressive as well.
Buy yourself a pair of good snow pants. They might come handy if you will go for a long walk on a trail or go snow tubing, sledding or even skiing. There are many brands to choose from. I would recommend to look for brands that make clothes for skiing. They usually are very good quality.
Okay.
I can mention some of them, like Carbon, Spider, The North Face.
Alright, well, certainly good to know. I don't believe I've heard of many of those brands even existing in Australia, and to be honest, I wouldn't exactly want to buy them, not because they're going to be just worse quality, but because I believe there would be about $1 billion here. But if I could find something, I probably wouldn't trust it. But I'm sure there are also going to be plenty of expensive things in Australia that don't work either, because we just don't have the same kind of quality control, because it's just not needed.
I
But
can
let's just
mention
see,
some
what did
of
you say?
them,
Carbon
like
and
Carbon, Spider, the North
Carbon,
Face.
Spider, and the North Face. So I've heard the North Face out of the three of those, and I guess I know the North Face is expensive, if nothing else, but what about Carbon? Ah, okay then, well, Carbon with a K snow pants, I guess they're not, 250, I don't even know where I'm possibly going to be buying them from. Ozski, 330, so I guess in the grand scheme of things, they're relatively the same as a lot of other things, but that doesn't necessarily make them cheap, because in Australia, like I said, you're not going to be needing them unless you're going skiing, where in Canada, you might just need them to be able to go outside. Yes. Oh,
Keep your feet warm with winter boots. Sorel, Uggs, the North Face, Pajar, Blundstone, or Box for kids have you covered.
Okay, good to know. Absolutely want to keep your feet warm.
Get your car ready. Make sure the car is running properly and you have enough tire pressure. In winter, usually you need to have more. If your car is old, it might be a good idea to go and do a checkup. Always have a water and some snacks in your car, especially during snowfalls. You never know when you may stuck and for how long. Don't get your gas tank below a quarter of the capacity. So in case of emergency, you would have enough gas to run an engine.
Well, I can't exactly say that realistically anything that he just talked about has ever crossed my mind, even just going below a quarter of a tank. I mean, it makes sense if you need to be idling to be able to keep the car running and warm and yourself warm as well, but whew, there are plenty of people in Australia that just run out of fuel because they're just going, yeah, just push it to the next stop or whatever it may be. I mean, I would love to know why you allegedly need more tire pressure in the cold. I mean, I can understand if it's different tires, but if it's just a flat out just you need more tire pressure just because the air's condensing differently, or I have no idea, maybe the tire doesn't warm up as much. I mean, I'm also completely dumbfounded as to how that road does not have a single piece of snow on it. I mean, I know that they clear the roads, and I guess people driving over is going to have a little bit of an effect, maybe blow it around with literally the air currents, but that looks as though it's been heated, just the way there's nothing on it. It doesn't look like a massive snowfall, but still, is it just the warmth from the car tires? Is it, I don't know what, how is the road so clear?
Winter tires. Many people drive on their all-season tires all year round, but winter tires are adding more safety for you on the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's worth investing money in.
Yeah.
Winter driving skills. It is obvious but very important. You drive differently on the snow. Every year after the first snow, we see an increase of accidents on roads.
Oh,
it's like people forget how to drive in the snow.
Oh my god.
Come on, it's Canada.
Oh man, if Australia had to deal with this, I mean, people are bad enough in the rain. If we had to then deal with snow as well, I can't even imagine it, let alone, like you said, people just not having the right tires. People would basically run slicks in the snow, I'm sure, if they could. But exactly like he was talking about, I can only imagine those winter tires can pay themselves off in an instant. If it just means the difference between you sliding out, hitting a tree, rolling down a hill, rolling down a this, even the medical bills, whatever it may be. If the difference is between just getting winter tires or all-season tires, and that's the grip difference, absolutely to spend it's not going to be a small amount of money, but the money is going to be small relative to everything that could possibly go wrong with that. Thinking about it now though, I am wondering when and where do snow chains come into the equation, because I guess you can't particularly use them too fast because they'll rip themselves apart, but is it also roads, or is it seasons, is it amount of snow, what is it, or are they kind of redundant because you already have these specialty tires, and even down to ones you can just implant metal spikes into? I can only imagine that would do a better job than having to struggle and wrestle with the snow chains. No thank you.
You may have to do some home check before winter comes. If you live in a house, check your furnace beforehand. Make sure it runs fine. Don't forget to replace a filter. Check the drainage around the house if it's good and your drainage system is not clogged. Otherwise, water around your house will be looking for a place to escape and may start filling your basement. Have some stash of candles, and a propane portable barbecue is good to have, but strictly for outside cooking. Never use it indoor.
Yeah, fair enough.
And an emergency pack. Because of some extreme weather conditions like snowstorm or freezing rain, the power lines could be cut out and the whole neighborhoods may stuck with no electricity for some time,
It's
even
just
for a
crazy.
couple of days sometimes. I remember some time ago, right before Christmas, we had a very bad freezing rainstorm in Ontario. Many places were left with no power for several days.
Oh.
They had to seek special shelter to get themselves warm and to have some warm meal cooked.
Oh man, I mean, I have definitely heard of plenty of snowstorms just tearing these northern countries, cities, towns apart, but once again, it's just not something that I ever really think of. So when he did mention the candles, I was going, okay, oh, actually, no, not just for light, well, I guess for light, but for emergency lighting, not for mood lighting. And also, feel free to correct me, but at least in my mind, the only saving grace about the power going out in a situation like this is the fact that you don't have to worry about the fridge or the freezer just, well, heating up. I mean, I guess it still will heat up, and so maybe you want to move everything outdoors, but then, oh, I guess that's a bit of a rock and a hard place, because then you have to be opening and closing the door to be able to get stuff, and you're just going to be trying to maintain all the heat you can possibly produce. And so I don't know, how do you manage that one? And I can certainly understand why people want their own backup power these days. Hang on a second, and I've also just seen a sign right there, and I believe it says warning, sidewalk not maintained in winter. Something. Oh, November 1st to April 10th is probably what it says. It's what it looks like, at least. So once again, that just makes me wonder, how do people possibly live in these places? And also, why did humans ever think it was a good idea to settle in these places? There is so much earth, really, especially when we were choosing to settle. Why did we settle in these freezing wastelands? I mean, if you love the view, you love the view, but really, like, we still struggle to these days, let alone 100,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, even 50, 100 years ago. These people are insane. Okay.
And one of the most important, in my opinion, find a winter activity or activities suitable for you and your family. There are many great and fun stuff to do when the white and fluffy stuff is covered everything around. Skiing, skating, snow tubing, snowshoeing, and so on. When you and your family have some fun stuff to do, winter goes by much quicker.
Absolutely. Like the saying says, time flies when you're having fun, and you really do have to make the most of it. And honestly, from everything that I hear and see, people generally do love winter for what it offers in terms of all the activities that it provides, like skiing, snowboarding, this and that and this and that. Like, there is so much you can then do with the slippery stuff, but you also then do have to be careful, because sometimes it becomes a little bit too slippery for a lot of people. But hey, I've certainly learned a whole bundle of tips and tricks to hopefully have a better chance at maybe surviving a Canadian winter. I mean, there are still going to be plenty of things that I have no clue about. I mean, cars are still just a mystery to me, really, in terms of just defogging and demisting and de-icing and everything like that. And then also just everything else that I was just painfully reminded about, like the power situation, going, what happens if you just don't have power for a week? That just sounds very scary to deal with, but also, oh man, just you better be just prepared at all moments of your day, from snacks in the car, or snow pants, or maybe even just your favorite jacket, even just around the house, just trying to stay out of these elements that will completely overrun you. There is no escaping this kind of cold. It's in your nose, it's in your eyes, it's everywhere. And if you're not prepared for it, and you're just not dressed appropriately, because there's no bad weather, there's just bad clothes, it will take you out. Oh, I'm not ready for that one just yet.